All right, everyone. So, Modern Warfare 4, we just got this big release trailer and they put up a big like blog post on the website. So, we're going to go through the blog post. You could go elsewhere to watch the full trailer, but we're going to go through, react to the blog post, and just give what they're saying and give kind of my first impressions on this. So, let's start. Warfare Without Limits. And by the way, it's coming out on October 23rd, 2026. War erupts on the Korean Peninsula. So, this is going to be set in North Korea as North Korea launches a full scale invasion that threatens to destabilize the world in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4. A young squad of South Korean soldiers fights to survive on the collapsing front lines, while half a world away, a vengeful Captain Price wages a personal war from the shadows as he stays one step ahead of those hunting him. As Price's off book mission collides with the forces behind the invasion, the war spreads beyond anyone's control. Modern Warfare 4 pushes the series darker and more dangerous territory, bringing long running storylines to a powerful and emotional breaking point. So let's stop there for 1 second and kind of react to that a little bit. The darker, dangerous words like that being in here gives me a little bit of hope for maybe we actually get something here. Because if you go back to the older Call of Duties, we're talking World at War, Call of Duty 4, stuff like that. You can remember just like I mean, World at War, that opening scene, right? There's just so many things that really put you in the shoes of the people you were playing, right? Obviously, Modern Warfare 2 had their own version of that. Call of Duty 4 had its own version of that. I can still remember to this day that opening scene in Call of Duty 4 where you're driving around, as a kind of like a hostage, right? Through the city. You're just seeing everything. Like I could still remember that playing it as a kid. Um, how impactful that was. So I think that's a very important part, right? Like uh, right now, obviously, I don't think anybody would argue that Call of Duty as a franchise is at its peak, but it doesn't mean it can't get back to where it once was. And putting out a campaign that, even if it's short, really delivers on that promise, I think would be a really cool start. Right, to just be like, look, we're going to go back to the roots of having the darker, the more serious campaigns than ever before. The campaign drops players into trench warfare in Korea, close quarters combat in New York, high octane chases through Paris, SAS, night raids in Mumbai, and citywide assaults to reclaim the occupied territory. Multiplayer delivers grounded, precise combat where fluid movement, player choice, and a greater control define every engagement. In DMZ, players operate as an off the books asset behind enemy lines, where every development into contested territory forces hard choices about which objectives to pursue, what to secure, and when to get out. So this is kind of still talking about the new DMZ style thing. And I actually, I know there were some criticisms of it a little bit, but I think kind of reinventing Call of Duty into a different style of campaign isn't a terrible idea, right? If you have kind of a short story attached with it, maybe kind of a more free roaming, like you're choosing different objectives to do and stuff like that. I think there's a world where that works. If you could make a fun campaign and something that people are like, you know what, I'm actually going to play this thing. I actually think it's worth playing. That will add to this game, right? And it will just kind of bring a little bit of spirit back into the franchise. The multiplayer is always going to matter more. It just will, because at the end of the day, that's what people are going to be playing the most. But a strong campaign like in World at War and Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2, fun campaigns to play through, it does go a long way. Launching on October 23rd, it's going to be on the Series X, the 5, PlayStation 5, PC, Nintendo Switch 2. It's not going to be on the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. Campaign overview. No line holds forever. Fight as Private Park, a young South Korean soldier facing live combat for the first time alongside his squad. What begins as a routine patrol descends into chaos when North Korea launches a full scale invasion, forcing Park and his unit into a desperate fight through collapsing cities and counter offensives. The campaign drops players into the chaos, pressure, and split second intensity of ground level combat. Sounds pretty cool, we'll say. This is a new setting for the franchise grounded in the military authenticity Modern Warfare is known for and built with attention to the culture, history, and military detail of the region. The conflict in Korea becomes the catalyst for a broader war. You can see the different images here as we go down. Beyond the front lines, operator turned outlaw Captain Price works outside the system he once served. A hunt for revenge draws Price toward a weapon powerful enough to shift the balance of power, setting in motion a conflict far greater than he ever anticipated. Forced into uneasy alliances and illicit operations, Price is pulled deeper into consequences he can no longer escape. Let's go through some of these images here. I will say that so the North Korean side of this sounds really cool, right? Or the North Korean, South Korean side of this, like that aspect of it, fighting that off does sound cool. The Captain Price parts, it feels like that could be a high risk, high reward, but also has, it could be something that really flops as well. Like I feel like if you have a really cool campaign of this, battle between both sides and you have a separate, one part of combat, and then you have the kind of side story, although tied in, it's its own side story. Part of me thinks that could like, it could be very good. I even on social media, some people think that that's gonna be a cool part, and I do think it can be. But I wonder if there's room there for, like, man, if that part sucks and you feel like you're constantly being drawn out of a cool part into a part that's not so great, that could be a problem. But like I said, I feel like because Captain Price, that's gonna be such a cool storyline, maybe it will be live up to it. A nightmare scenario unfolds as an overzealous leader's shadow operations and outside interference push the conflict towards the brink of global catastrophe. From large scale battles and covert missions to combined arms warfare and cinematic set pieces, the Modern Warfare 4 campaign delivers gritty combat and gameplay variety across a war that spreads far beyond the front lines. So, one thing I want to focus in on here is cinematic set pieces. Call of Duty has always had, in a sense, right, some of those really big over the top set pieces in their in their campaigns. But I do still think that what creates a good campaign overall and what creates one for the Call of Duty series that is memorable is when it really feels a little bit more realistic. I don't feel all of that much when I see, oh my God, in a video game, this tank just did this, or this helicopter just blew up all of this, or, this guy, like when you're watching a movie and the guy's falling out of a helicopter and he catches on to something, he's able to blow it up and still survive. Like, I don't know. That doesn't do the same for me as the scenes we talked about in like the opening. I'm gonna just bring it up again. The opening to Call of Duty 4. The opening to Call of Duty 4, it's not some crazy cinematic crazy moment. What it is it sets a scene for you, right? Like, I remember as a kid watching that opening scene as you're driving around a city, right, which ends up you end up getting killed, or it's not you, but it's the person at that point you're, kind of playing as, which you're just sitting there watching. It sets the stage, right? It makes you feel a level of, like, and obviously I was younger, but there's a level of fear that's associated with it. Like, oh my God, like what are we walking into? What are we against here? And so that is where I hope they keep the focus. Look, the cinematic set pieces are fine, but it doesn't take away, like, it's not enough. It's not gonna make a great cinematic set pieces do not tie together this campaign. That's not what at the end of the day is gonna be the most exciting part of this, is what I'm saying. Multiplayer overview. Modern Warfare 4 delivers grounded, precise combat built around fluid movement that provides greater control in every fight. Below are some key innovations to the series. Ballistic Authority. For Modern Warfare 4, a new weapon first technology stack unifies precision aiming, physical handling, realistic audio propagation, enhanced visibility, and smarter combat perception into the most authentic Modern Warfare gunplay yet. A bullet trajectory, weapon motion, operator stance, camera audio, FOV, and target visibility all line up in one highly tuned combat fidelity system. The promise is simple: no bloom, no guesswork, and no doubt. Every shot tells the truth. Okay. Bloom has been removed, making hipfire shots feel more direct, predictable, and connected to where the weapon is pointed. Recoil, convergence, and weapon handling have been rebuilt to more directly reflect player input. Depth of field and visual effects have been refined to improve enemy visibility without sacrificing authenticity. Weapons respond more naturally to player movement, stance changes, and the environment, creating more consistent behavior in every engagement. Movement in Modern Warfare 4 is built around fluidity, control, and player freedom, delivering fast, grounded combat that keeps operators responsive through every engagement while expanding how players move, fight, and adapt across the environment. Refined movement systems are designed to support a wide range of playstyles. So, just before we go on, part of the movement, in the latest Call of Duty, I do think the movement's pretty darn good. I'll give it that. I actually do like it. There's certain things I'm not necessarily a huge fan of, like the fact that you have to jump in certain places to get, like I think the movement is cool. I don't know if we need it in so many aspects of the map. That's kind of what I'm getting to. But I think they do feel pretty good, and if they could really make it so the gunplay feels as tight as possible, who knows, right? Who knows? Maybe we get a good one. Transversal combat and gunplay transitions are designed to feel seamless and responsive, preserving momentum while maintaining control under pressure. Expanded movement options for mantling, climbing, hanging, and jumping create new opportunities to reposition flank, navigate vertical spaces, and approach engagements from multiple angles across increasingly difficult or dynamic combat environments. See, that worries me a little bit. I don't need a ton of dynamic combat environments, right? Just give us good maps like we used to have. I don't need this to become something where we're jumping around them. Everybody's just kind of like Gears of War, you're wall bouncing. It's like keep it, have the cool movement, but keep it together. Every movement system is designed to preserve the grounded realism, physicality, and combat intensity that define modern warfare while delivering fluid cinematic intensity of operating an elite soldier in the field, whether you prefer methodical, tactical, or aggressive plays. Maps. Modern Warfare 4 launches with a global set of grounded, visually distinct environments spanning locations around the world. With 12, it's going to have 12 core launch maps, even with a custom infill and distinct visual identity, forming the foundation of a broader multiplayer offering. In addition, Kill Block, a live fire training facility built for elite operators, gives players a fresh gameplay experience with every new round. Multiplayer also includes dedicated gunfight maps and multiple big war maps built for large scale vehicles and infantry combat across locations shaped by the campaign's global conflicts. That's interesting right there. I don't know. They used to have ground war, right? Which I guess maybe that's what this has become. And ground war was cool. But I do think like it's very important for me when I play Call of Duty that the part of the problem with Call of Duty is it doesn't have the same feel it once did. And I understand, like, I used to play Ground War, if that's what Big War kind of is gonna be. I think they probably still have some sort of, they probably have a mode like this even in there now. But I just don't like the idea of, like, get back to the basics of what you're trying to do, right? And deliver that before anything. And I'm not saying this shouldn't be in there, but man, I just wanna load up domination and be like, "You know what? This is what we remember, right? This is what we want." Every Modern Warfare 4 map is designed to keep combat fast, tactical, and competitive while giving players multiple routes and opportunities to adapt from one engagement to the next. Kill Block. Taking place inside the West Bridge training facility, Kill Block introduces a dynamic new multiplayer battleground where the combat space reconfigures between rounds, reshaping sightlines, routes, and cover to keep players adapting in real time. Shaped from a set of purpose built modular sections capable of creating more than 500 distinct configurations, each map creates its own combat rhythm and tactical challenges. Expect more sections and even more configurations during Modern Warfare 4's live seasons. Killblock supports expanded gunfight formats, including 3v3 and 10v10 experiences, with future support planned for core multiplayer modes designed for high intensity play. Killblock forces players to think quickly, fight for control, and adjust engagement tactics every round. That sounds pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how cool it's gonna be, but it seems like a pretty innovative thing, right? I like that. Progression and customization. Modern Warfare 4 expands player customization while making it faster and easier to get into the action. A redesigned created class system unifies operators, weapons, equipment, and kill streaks into a single loadout, giving players quicker access to specialized bundles or specialized builds tailored to different tactics and playstyles. Gunsmith returns with deeper customization options while remaining approachable for all players, with attachments now shared by weapon class to streamline build creation and experimentation. New to Modern Warfare 4, Gunny brings a gunnery sergeant's eye to weapon customization, helping players quickly assemble effective builds based on their preferred playstyle and unlock attachments. Featuring configurations developed by Infinity Ward's weapons team, Gunny can instantly configure practical close, mid, or long range weapon builds tailored to different approaches to combat while still leaving room for further customization and refinement. I love that. If you had to say what is the one part of Call of Duty that is better now than back in the Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty 4, World at War days, it would be the gunsmith system. The amount of ability you have now to just put so many different things on your weapon. How it all looks and operates is one of the best parts. And I do like this. Like, I'm not someone who is really in the, the weeds on let me build the best gun class for this. Like, that's just not, I just want to get a gun and go in and play. Having the ability to go, hey, build me a class for this or build me a gun for this, that's very cool. Progression also expands through Apex attachments. These are specialized unlocks earned by fully progressing a weapon, introducing unique modifications that can significantly change how that weapon behaves in combat. Depending on the attachment, they can alter handling, firing behavior, tactical utility, stealth compatibility, or combat role, giving fully leveled weapons new ways to perform beyond standard gunsmith customization. Alongside new weapons, equipment, kill streaks available at launch, players can also enter prestige at max soldier rank during exclusive rewards and continue progressing through additional ranks. I go back and forth on the unlocks of weapons. I kind of like the system more of getting unlocked tokens so you can unlock certain things because I don't love like basically so you're using one weapon and then it's like, oh, I'm going to use another weapon. Well, to get the most out of that other weapon, you have to use it for a little while. I just don't love that idea, right? Like it's one thing to say you have to use it to get used to a gun versus another gun. It's a completely different thing to say, well, you're going to have to use it to actually get to the best attachment. So, from what I understand by this, it's like when you just use the gun for the first time, the gun itself is going to be at a disadvantage. And I get both sides of it. You definitely want the unlock portion. Like it gives you something to use a new weapon and to unlock too. But I just don't know if it's the best way to go about it. But put in the comments what you think about that. Modern Warfare 4 introduces greater player choice through two prestige paths, Classic Prestige and Regular Prestige. Classic Prestige delivers the traditional reset experience, relocking create a class progression in exchange for increased XP earn rates and access to exclusive Prestige rewards. For players who prefer to maintain their unlocked loadouts, Regular Prestige allows progression to restart from level 1 without resetting created class content, offering a more flexible path towards while forward while still rewarding continued progression with its own set of prestige rewards and progression milestones. This is interesting. So, how is this going to work? Because why in the world would you pick classic prestige at all? If I don't that we I need to find out more about that, right? I mean, I like what does that actually mean? Because why would you pick the classic prestige if you can get both by keeping all your shit? I don't know. It's a cool idea, but I just don't know. Expect a more extensive look. All right, so there's okay. We're getting more of it soon. All right, so this is the DMZ mode. DMZ is the definitive Call of Duty extraction experience, a living combat arena where every development is a new story. Deploy solo or with a squad into a volatile conflict zone as an off the books asset, tasked with recovering advanced military tech left in the wake of the war. The conditions in the exclusion zone are always shifting with changing weather, dynamic military objectives, and hostile forces moving through the zone. Loot, fight, negotiate, betray, and extract with whatever you could carry. The harder you push, the harder the world pushes back. Every run is a risk, every encounter is a choice, and no two deployments play out the same. And then there's going to be more coming. Um, so that's basically, I guess, it for now because there's going to be more coming. But look, here's the problem I have is anytime I read any of the Call of Duty press releases before a game is announced or any of the trailers, I'm always like, hey, maybe this is the year that we get what we want, right? Which is a return to the Call of Duty we know and love. They seem to kind of let us down in most years. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, this proves, Call of Duty's back, right? It's just not the case. But I do think there's a lot of cool stuff here. It's hard for me to disagree with that, right? So we'll see. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.